Hi, hello. Welcome to my page. Welcome to Christabel's Diary. Thank you for joining me tonight. Thank you for joining me. Please share this page so others can join also. Like the page, share the page. Let's send a message to ourselves. Let's learn something tonight. This is Christabel's Diary. It's all about relationship talk. In Christabel's Diary, we come here together to share our different views about our relationship. We talk about the successes we have recorded, the challenges we have recorded. We are able to pray with one another also if the need be, so that we can also make our relationship work. I will always tell you that it is your right to be happy. Depression is not an option. A lot of relationships have led so many people into depression. Their mental health is broken. Why? Because of this issue of I must love my family, I must love my spouse, I must give to the family, I must give all. It's all about the family. But today I'm here to discuss what I call self-love. A lot of people might see self-love or mingle it up or misunderstand it to be being selfish or being only self in a relationship. Self-love is not only about self, but it's about loving yourself, giving yourself a worth in the relationship, making sure that you are in a good state of mind to be able to give to the family. I will always tell people that you cannot give what you do not have. If you love yourself, it means you are able to dish out love also to your family members. If you are having trouble believing in yourself, it means you will not be able to believe on anyone in the family. Welcome once again as we talk about this topic. Please, it's an open room. If you have any form of contribution, you have a discussion, you have a question to ask regarding this, do not hesitate to post. Do not hesitate to say what you also want to contribute, because on this platform we all come together to learn. So I said I'll be talking about self-love today. Are we just talking about women loving themselves alone or the men loving themselves alone? No. This is because both men and women in our culture are socialized to undervalue their own needs in a relationship. We are in a society where both men and women are geared or are tutored towards undervaluing themselves or their own needs in a relationship. Every man has his needs, every woman has her needs. In every relationship, everyone has that thing that they also aspire to be or they also aspire to have. And those things are the things that keep you stable and keep your mental health going. So in every marriage, when it's all about my spouse, my children, my spouse, my children, you find out that you have a lot of things you're also lacking as an individual in that relationship. And if we don't know it, some of those things have a way of tampering with our mental health. It has a way of dabbling with our beliefs on ourselves. It has a way of reducing our self-value. Because at a point you feel stressed out and you are looking at it that, oh, I pay so much sacrifice for the family, what am I really getting? I have been in that point. There's nothing I discuss with you here that I don't talk out of experience. There is a time I felt it's all about the family. You know, it's all about the family. It has to be about your husband. It has to be about the children. And I never remember that I also have a life, or I also have needs, or I also have certain requirements for me to be a good wife and a mother. But it was all about the family. Many of us are still living like that today. The husbands always believe that it's all about providing for the family, and they work tooth and nail just to make provisions for the family, even to the extent of forgetting who they really are. They don't even remember to look into the mirror and ask, is it really me, or is it my true person that is still existing? At a point, we lose values for even our existence. We lose values for our goals. We lose value for that inner beauty that we carry. And that's the reason why you see a lot of mothers just with one child, because of marriage or maybe childbirth, you discover that she's looking so tattered, she's looking so unkempt. And it's not, I keep telling people that looking good is not just about money alone. Yes, we need money to look good, but that little you have is enough to polish yourself. It's not about buying a Brazilian hair or buying a bow straight before you can look good, or wearing so much expensive makeup. But the reasons why most of these women look the way they look is because at a point, they have come to a point in their life when they ask themselves, who am I going to be fine for? Why do I need to package myself? Who am I? Who is looking at me? No one might be looking at you, but you need to look at your own self and ask yourself in the mirror, mirror, am I still that beautiful girl that I used to be? Also, a lot of men, when you see them looking always angry, looking tattered, looking haggard, looking frustrated, every little thing snap at them. Why? Because at a point, this lifestyle has brought about stress, has brought about anger, has brought about so much frustration. Why? Because it's all about providing for the family, and forgetting that he also has a life. It's not only women that looks beautiful, or only women that needs to look keep young, or only women that need to be stable in their looks. Even the men, we forget that even when we start bearing children, there's still that one spouse that you need to still glow for. You know, some people just believe, okay, I already have 3 children, just like me, I have 4, and you like, oh, what do I really need to look good for? Remember, there was also something the husband saw when you were that little young girl, or when you were that smart young girl, and he looked at you and said, oh, I love you. It could not really be the beauty, but there was something that attracted him. What if that attraction was in your look? What if that attraction was in your neatness? What if that attraction was all about your courage? And how are you going to feel when that attraction no longer motivates him? So also the man. There was this thing that the woman saw and just say, oh, it has to be him. He just like, oh, it has to be him. So, and at the end of the day, you start becoming unkept, you start becoming not even interested in looking good, you know. At the end of the day, the woman is like a kind of far away from you, and you are like, why is she doing this? Is it because she already has children for me? No. Let me tell you, marriage is a continuous institution. It's not a thing of one day. It's not something that you just feel, oh, I entered today and it's we have already consummated it, we have sealed it. This one has no other option, and you just have to take me the way I am. It is very important to learn what self-love is in a relationship. You know, there are things that we do, and we just don't know that we're actually killing the marriage. Gradually, we are killing it softly. Yes, number one, you are the most important person in the game. You are the most important in this journey. You are the most important person in this institution that we are talking about. You have to give yourself a pass for you to be able to tutor others. Yes, you have to have that knowledge of adding self-value to yourself before you can add self-value even to that your spouse or to your children. If you start losing that mindset or that self-value that you should have for yourself, that worth that you should have for yourself, that value, that self-esteem that you should have for yourself, and at a point you just think that, oh, it's all about providing for the family, it's all about living my life for the family, gradually you start losing your own self. Now, what about somebody that asked me a question the other day? He said, as a career woman, before you got married, you studied so hard, your parents made sure that you went through school, and even when before your husband picked you to say, it's you I'm going to get married to, he already knows that you have this intention to be a career woman. And all of a sudden, when you now get married, the man is now complaining, no, I just want you to be a housewife. One thing we should know, there are things that give us fulfillment in life. There are certain things that just give us this peace of mind and say, yes, I have accomplished it. Yes, you are now under him and you need to submit. Not doing that thing that you have always targeted before you got married is enough to bring down your mental health, and it's enough to bring hostility and toxicity into a marriage. Why? Because you are feeling that there's something that you are not adding up, or there's something that you are not achieving. At times, some of us that believe to be a career mother, a career wife, has this beliefs that this is where our happiness or our joy lies. I will always tell somebody that simply because you are married does not bring happiness. There are a lot of things that make up happiness in the marriage. There are a lot of things that you do that actually add value to that marriage. And for most people, this career that we are talking about is part of it. This family, where you also have a life. Being able to accomplish that dream you had before you got married is one thing also that will help your mental health. I'm mentioning mental health because I have experienced this and I know what I am talking about. Mental health is the bedrock of every relationship. When you are mentally stable, that relationship also is mentally stable. And when you are mentally sick or down, you find out that there's so much, it becomes a toxic marriage. Why? Because in words, you react to every little thing that does not even count. You want to see things the negative way. Why? Because there are certain dreams or achievements that you have not been able to achieve. Why? Because you feel marriage has held you bound. There are also men also that have these dreams of a particular kind of job they need to do. There are some jobs that take you out for about 80% of your time or of your days in your marriage. You know, this kind of a thing can actually be frustrating for the family when it's as if you are hardly or scarcely seen. I will always tell people this is where dialogue and communication comes in. When you are not present, what have you used to fill in that gap so that when you are not present, your absence will not become a negative impact on the family? And these are some of the things that while you are discussing or while you are pursuing your self-worth or your self-love in marriage, you should be able to also consider others. You should be able to also put them into consideration. I loving myself, what impact is it having? Why? Because the reason why I'm asking this question, a lot of people has mistaken self-love for selfishness. And that's the reason why I see a lot of women. I've seen women that their children are not able to pay school fees and they are ready to buy George, they are ready to buy the latest lace, they are ready to buy the latest lace, they are ready to do whatever thing that pleases them without really considering if the children fee is important or is relevant. This is not self-love. This is about negligence. I will really simply call that negligence. Your children cannot have bills to pay in the school when you know this is part of your investment and you say, oh, because I love myself. If you are in the position to support in the house, if you are a supporting system to your husband when it comes to the payment of the children's tuition, why won't you do that? Suspend every other thing first. Suspend that buying of clothes first. After all, you have clothes. That is not what I'm saying, because a lot of people will say, hey, I said it. You cannot have, when you are practicing self-love, there are things you prioritize. Yes, I said your mental health has to be stable. What am I talking about? There are things you too, yes, you desire. There are things you deserve. After paying those children's tuition, after supporting, I'm not saying it's your responsibility as a woman, but there are cases where you actually earn more than your husband and you need to support. After doing that, you can still aspire, or you can still, out of the little that remain, to buy that cloth, that or that dress that you are really wishing to get. So we learn to prioritize even when we are practicing self-love. I hope somebody is getting it. Please share this video, because me, I know I want to learn. So, you know, there are things that are damaging to a person's self-esteem in marriage, you know, that really brings you, and if repeated over time, you discover that this thing can destroy a relationship. There are things that we must avoid. If we must practice self-love or self-worth, there are things we must avoid. So we need to learn to be vigilant And if these problems are noticed, root them out early. What are those things? I want to make mention of them. If you are still there, I won't mind you to drop one of the contributions that you might have in mind, or maybe something that, a question that you like to ask. So just as I said, there are things that are damaging to a person's self-esteem or to a person's worth if they are repeated over time in the relationship, where you just discover that you lose the right to who you are supposed to be. Now, what are those things? Number one, I will start with the sarcastic slam. You know, biting sarcasm is never funny. You know, there are some sarcasm you make, there are some fun you make out of a person. Some you are making in jest of a person all the time, of your spouse all the time, and you discover that it's demeaning when there's this sarcasm that you do all the time. You know, it could be that, okay, maybe you have a wife that likes to do a makeup just like me, you know, to look good, and you come in, instead of you to like, oh, you look good, or don't you think this is a little bit much? You just like, hey, see this your face look like a Indian masquerade. So you can imagine the spirit that woman was trying to do, that beautifying. All of a sudden you dampen the spirit. So it can be very demeaning for you to use a sarcastic slang over and over in the relationship, and it can make your partner overly self-critical and damage his or her respect. Why? Because this person just feels that, what is even the need for me to do this thing? Because at that point in time, the person is actually seeing you, or seeing you as his or her mirror. His or her mirror. Yes, I need to talk about that. We are actually the mirror of our spouse. There are times my husband wears certain things and I'm like, oh, honey, this is not nice. Change it. There are times he wears certain haircut. I'm like, oh, this is not nice. He might like it. Yes, there was a time I was really battling with my husband concerning haircut. I tried to make him start cutting the hair the way I like it. And I realized that it was like I was forcing him. He had a particular self-esteem in one particular hairstyle that he likes to carry. But I had to make him understand the reason why he should change from that hairstyle, because it's just like he's an adult, he's a responsible father, but he would carry a hairstyle of these sagging little children. And at times, I told him, I said, yes, you are trying to look young, you are trying to look nice, but there are things we outgrow. That is how I see some people, you know, imagine somebody of like 50, you gather makeup and fool everywhere of your face. Do you know that instead of that makeup to actually make you look beautiful, it makes you look worse than the way you actually are? So there are things that our spouse actually see us as a mirror. So there are things our spouse can tell us politely, oh, this is not nice, maybe you should do it a little bit this way, and not using the word sarcasm. You know, just like telling somebody that, oh, you look like an Indian masquerade, or see your face like signboard. It might be funny though, but it's really not funny, because at the end of the day, you are actually helping that person to damage his or her self-respect or self-esteem. Another thing again, that when we keep doing in a relationship that can kill our relationship, that will make you lose your self-worth, is fearsome fury. When you have this fearsome fury, you know, rage that out of control, form of furious anger. You know, you are always angry. It devastates self-esteem. Not only for the person on the receiving end, but also the one delivering the anger. At every little slam, you are everywhere. I used to be like that. You know, there was a time that every little thing pisses me off, because I was tense, I was stressed up, I was feeling like it's all about my family, all about my family. I wasn't thinking about myself. So some of these things at times just put me off, and at every little reaction you see me reacting, I realized that I wasn't only devastating, putting the person at the receiving end, I wasn't putting the children or my husband alone in the devastating state. My mental health was sick, because a lot of negative things were always coming through my head. It was like, oh, you are just for everyone, but no one is for you. So at times we feel like, okay, we are trying to use anger to sort our problems, we are trying to use anger to settle the matter, the more you are putting anger, honestly, the more you are devaluing yourself. Because at that point of anger, you are putting so much emotions. At that point, a lot of things is crossing your mind. A lot of regrets is coming in. A lot of pains is coming in. A lot of wishes are coming in, probably that will never ever come through. So, you see this constant anger? I know that stress causes a lot of it, but we really need to control this anger in our relationship. Then another thing I discovered again is name calling. Name calling in a relationship is damaging. You know, we just feel like, oh, you know, there are just like the sarcastic slam I talked about. Like, okay, your wife is made up her face, and instead of it, you're like, oh, honey, don't you think you should reduce the lipstick, or don't you think you should reduce the eyeshadow? You just come and like, maybe she even believed in you being her mirror to express herself. She's like, oh, honey, how do I look? And you're like, oh, this your face look like Indian masquerade. You can imagine what you just did to that woman for that whole day. There are times that maybe I wear a dress and somebody is just like, this dress is too short. I don't know if you have been in that state where somebody just like, this dress is too short, or maybe there is a tear on your dress that you don't even know is there, and somebody draws your attention to it. Do you know that the whole of that day you might not even be able to move? You might not be able to even want to get up from where you are sitting down. Why? Because something has already lowered your self-esteem. Are we saying we should not correct one another? No, but I'm just trying to give you a picture of how it is in the relationship or in a marriage where your husband or your wife is telling you, this your haircut just look like monkey cap. You can imagine the haircut that you are supposed to like, oh honey, is nice, but I think you have outgrown this kind of hairstyle, or maybe you should cut it down a little bit. It might not really be the man's thing, but for him, for you to have said that, maybe that is what trips you in him. So if he's a sensible man, he should be able to like, okay, I think my wife liked this hairstyle. And remember, self-love is not about what your spouse likes alone. There are values that you also have. There are things you also like for yourself. So even when you are doing that adjustment, it should also be to the level where, or maybe to that point where you also find pleasure in that particular thing. So just as I said, name calling is like the sarcastic slam. You know, calling your partner an idiot or a ditch, even if done maybe like a joke or something, it's never good for his or her self-respect. You know, you're calling your spouse names that are not appropriate. It's not nice at all. So we really need to control it, because these are the things that actually kill one's worth in a marriage. And there's something that they call a cold shoulder. Freezing your partner out. Cold shoulder. You know, that long punishing type of silence. You're not talking, you're not communicating, you're not, your partner seems not to even understand you any longer. Forces her into, or him into, a holding pattern. You just discover that your partner is restrained, you know, waiting for you to be ready to talk it out. It's disempowering and belittling when it's as if you are not carrying your partner along. As a woman or as a man, you don't talk. When you're in the house, it's like everybody is in a cemetery. Yes, everyone has what bothers him or her. Yes, at times I also use cold shoulder, but I discovered that it's not really the best. At times, because I don't want a quarrel, I use cold shoulder. For me, it might work because my partner is the type that would also want to say, oh, sorry, because he sees my cold shoulder as a way of expressing how offensive his actions are. But you might have a partner that once you show that cold shoulder, he shrinks into his shell, or she shrinks into her shell. So we should learn not to give cold shoulder to one another, else it will reduce our self-worth. So I want to stop at those points, because if we must value ourselves, or we must have self-love in our marriage, it has to also be supported, or there has to be certain factors that will give us that room or that ability for us to be able to express that self-love, for us to be able to like for us to be able to understand that we are worthy of something in this relationship. So now I want us to also talk about hammer more about the self-love. You know, the ultimate expression of self-love is to marry yourself. I hope we believe that. The ultimate expression of self-love is to marry yourself. You know, the formal name for self-marriage is sologamy. That is what people call it. It isn't legally binding like a conventional marriage, but there is no laws against it anywhere in the world. The sologamy is not for you not to be having your sexual affairs with yourself. That is not the part I am talking about. The self-love I'm talking about is not for you to become greedy. It's not for you to just believe that for you to believe that, okay, it has to be just me, myself, and I. It's not for you not to not show concern to anything that is happening in your family. No, that is not what I am talking about. The self-love is for you to appreciate yourself and understand that you have a role to play on yourself before you can love others. I hope we are getting that. So now, how do we develop self-love? How do you develop self-love in marriage? Number one, maintain a degree of space and independence. What am I talking about? It's unhealthy to allow the relationship to absorb your identity and to lose yourself as a person. A lot of people actually lost their identity, just as I said when I started. A lot of people lost their identity. A lot of people lost their worth. A lot of women lose their worth simply because they have become mother. That jean trouser you used to wear, you no longer wear it. When you want to come out, you tie, we ensure that you tie one wrapper to the left-hand side. I'm not saying it's wrong. But somebody is seeing a 30-year-old woman and is seeing a 55-year-old woman in her simply because of the way she's looking. Now, because she has come up with this mindset of, who do I dress for? Am I not already married? Have I not already had children? So I don't need to look good. You need to look good, because I actually realized that looking good, when the mirror tells you you look good, gives you a particular a percentage of happiness. This confidence in yourself to tell yourself, yes, I still have hope. Whenever your mirror tells you, yes, you are there, you are just okay, you are looking good, you are there, you are on point, you discover that you have this percentage of courage and this percentage of confidence in your own self. Number two, remember you are the master of your own happiness. I always tell people it is your right to be happy, and depression is not an option. So your partner can't make you happy. Don't expect that your partner, your husband, or your wife can make you happy. Only you can do that. Because even when your partner is trying to make you happy, you might discover that the method he's using is not pleasing to you and it irritates you. Yeah, there are a lot of people like that. Maybe they are not this type that like talking, and the partner feels, oh, I should chat with my wife, and you come, the man is talking. There are times that the woman is just like, this man talks too much. There are even men that like that. You know, by the time you are talking, you feel okay. And it might be that the man is this outing type that loves to go out, and you are this indoor person, and all of a sudden the man is like, oh, let's go out. Yes, he's trying to make you happy. He is thinking that he's meeting up to your needs. And to be honest with you, because that is not your person, that is not who you are, you just discover that you are not happy about it. So that is the reason why I said only you can make you happy. Your partner cannot make you happy. I hope we got that. I hope we got that. If you rely on them for happiness, if you rely on your spouse for happiness, you will drain the space between you. Make sure you take responsibility of yourself. When you learn to be happy, you discover that a lot of things really don't get at you. That is how I am right now. You know, I just learned to tell myself that, okay, it has happened, there's nothing I can do about it. If I continue to worry about it, maybe the person that even called the offense, my husband might never realize that it's getting at me. So most times these days, you just see me, I look up. And when he realizes that, oh, this thing is actually supposed to make my wife angry, and he's like, honey, I know I have offended you. Do you know what I say? I say, I did not see you. Why? Because I need my mental health to be stable. I need my mental health to be stable. I know it's not easy thing to do, and it's a habit that you need to develop over time. It took me time to get to this point. It took me time. It's not easy, but it's a habit that you need to keep practicing. There was, when I was learning this habit, there was something I always do, because when I was growing up, there was a story I heard about a woman that was always nagging with her husband. You know, they're always having a fight, and the fight was getting out of hand, and she now visited a native doctor, a witch doctor, and the witch doctor now said, okay, I'm going to give you a charm. This charm, it must not touch ground. This charm must not fall from your mouth anytime there's a quarrel. And he wrapped something with a red cloth and told her, anytime you're having a quarrel with your husband, put this thing in between your teeth. Don't let it fall, because if it fall, there will be disaster. And the lady kept doing that. Over time, she discovered that she was able to manage her anger. She was able to come over those things that will trigger her. And why? Because she always believed that she was holding a charm, and the charm was helping her. And at a point, she went back to the Baba to like, oh, Baba, thank you very much for the charm you gave me. It's really effective. And the Baba made her to understand that there was actually no charm. You had self-control. That was the charm you used. So many of us do not have self-control when it comes to being angry. So I also adopted that method, because, you know, little things before get at me, because at times I feel so stressed out. I feel that I'm giving so much into the relationship and all that. So what I started doing, once there's a quarrel, something that's supposed to make me quarrel, this is my little secret, I'm telling you now. I will just go and cut a palm frond that is inside my compound. I will put it across my mouth. And I'm telling myself, Christabel, this palm frond must not fall. Christabel, this palm frond must not fall. Christabel, this palm frond must not fall. And you remember that anything you do over and over consecutively for 21 days become a habit. So this case, you are not having quarrels over and over for 21 days, but consistent repeating this habit will actually help you to overcome this. So first of all, how do you do this? You have to start with adopting a mindset that happiness is a choice. Yes, that is the reason why I always tell somebody it is your right. You choose to either be happy or you choose to be sad. Somebody will say you are just talking as if it's that easy. Yes, it took me years to understand, but it's actually working. That is how it is. It took me time to understand this particular point, to know that you need to develop this mindset of being happy. So, if you understand that happiness is a choice, it means that you give yourself the power to cultivate happiness for yourself. It's difficult and it's hard work. I'm not saying that it's very easy, but it's a liberating factor, because you refuse those things that would have brought you down. You refuse to allow your happiness to be dictated by your circumstances or by other people or by your spouse. Why? Because you choose to be happy. This is the only way you can have self-love. I hope I'm talking to somebody. I hope somebody is learning something, because, you know, a lot of us have been so stressed, and when it comes to finances, it's like you're the one carrying the whole house and all that. Yes, you might be carrying the whole house and still learn to remember yourself a little. So choosing happiness means accepting the truism that the only person you can change is you, that you don't have the power to change anybody. The only person that can change when it comes to marriage is you. You need to change the way you see things. You need to change the way you attack things. You need to change your responses to a lot of things. And that is what I did. That is what I am still doing. I change my responses to certain things. I change my beliefs of certain things. I change my reactions to certain things. And it's helping. It's helping. It's helping. So maybe I should stop there because of time. I'm already going past my time. Next week, I'm going to continue on this topic. I'm going to give us more other points on how to develop self-love if you are in a marriage. How you will develop self-love if you are in a marriage. So don't get disheartened when you see your flaws. See your corrections, see your mistakes, see your flaws as a way to make yourself better, and always forgive yourself for your failings. You know, these are the little things that surround us in our marriage, and we don't really realize that they are demeaning. So there's one thing I want to part with. I want you to, even if you don't understand or you didn't hear everything I've said today, I want you to remember this. Remember that love is an action, not a feeling. Love is an action and not a feeling. So wise minds have always maintained that love is something you choose to do, not an emotion that you feel. This is often said about loving another, but the same is true about loving yourself. So if you must love yourself, love is in giving, love is in cherishing, love is in value. So you need to learn to give to yourself, you need to learn to value yourself, you need to learn to make sure that that point where you wish others to be, you are there first. I will always tell you, it is your right to be happy. Depression is not an option. I'm going to part with this today. And leaving this with you, that remember, love is an action, not a feeling. Don't just feel like I love myself. Take the action of loving yourself. Do that thing that makes you happy. Do that thing that gives you joy. Keep that thing that puts a smile on you. Do not let anybody talk you down and make you believe that your face is like monkey face. You have to still tell yourself, yes, monkey no find a mama like her. So it means that from the onset, even if somebody is telling you you look like monkey face, that monkey face has lived with humans to this point where he got to marry you. It means that that monkey face actually attracted him to himself. So it means he or she does not even know what he or she is saying, because I was monkey face before you married me, and I'm still the monkey face, you are still in it. So it means that there's something hidden behind that monkey face. Thank you for joining me tonight. Thank you. I'm glad that you're here. I would like you to subscribe to my YouTube channel, Christabel's Diary, my Instagram page, Christabel's Diary also, and this my Facebook page. Please share it, like it, and make comments. Comments that will add value to other people. Please help me grow my page so that I can get to that point where it will help me reach out to those in need also. Thank you and God bless you. I want to leave a word of prayer for you tonight. I declare and I declare to you tonight, you that is watching me and you that will watch later, that thing you desire most in your marriage, may the Lord release it and reach out to you tonight in the name of Jesus. I cancel every pain, every sorrow. I ask, oh God, that He gives you wisdom that is beyond man's understanding in the name of Jesus. God bless you. Join me same time next week. I know I've not really been too frequent or consistent. A lot of activities is what is distracting me. But I will try to be better on